What is up, y'all? It is your boy Winston Wolf. I'm back. I just want to do a quick review. The Last of Us, episode 5. They released it yesterday to avoid the Super Bowl. And let's just be honest, anybody that's still earnestly watching this show, not just people just watching it just to make a stupid review, but people that are actually into this show, are they actually going to be into the Super Bowl? They didn't have anything to worry about. It's just a bunch of sissies at this point that are into this show. But they released it yesterday. I'm a day late, but let's be honest, who cares? What, two people? Two people care? But I love you, two people. So, number one about this episode, and as you can already tell, I did not enjoy it just like I didn't enjoy any of the previous episodes. This fat lady that's leading the resistance or whatever, the military group, I don't even know at this point. Fedra, which is a terrible name because all I'm thinking of is like the old diet stuff. What was it called? Ephedra or something like that used to be in like Stacker 2 that they banned it. I think that's what it was, but that's all I think of when they say is some kind of like dietary product or something that they put in like hydroxycut or something like that. Yeah, you neckbeards probably don't know anything about, health food stuff or workout stuff. So if that totally goes over your fat head, sorry, Google it. But this fat woman leader of this group, did they do a screen test? And see, when I ask that question, I immediately just answer it myself because I'm like, yes, of course they did. Because look at what this show is about. Look at who's running this show. Look at who this show is geared for. Of course they wanted people that were just like them. Lame, sissy betas. That's what they wanted. So, of course, whatever fat, alternative lifestyle living, purple-haired women that are, a part of the production of the show, of course they wanted some fat mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, and also, okay, first of all, just listen to her voice. Like I said before, she doesn't command any respect with the way she's having this role. And honestly, and I'm talking to real people now, if you were in 20 years in this post-apocalyptic future, you're fighting for everything, are you going to listen to this squeaky voice nothing, to this fat pig? Also, I assume food isn't plentiful. All right, no matter who you are in this, whatever, because everybody's dirty. Everybody has a certain level of grime. So nobody's living like above the situation that we've seen so far. Everybody is still kind of on some kind of equal ground, right? So if you have a fat woman with a squeaky voice like that, the wolves are going to be looking out. They're going to be like, so how is she fat? Okay, we need to figure this out. We need to, in the middle of the night, storm wherever she's staying, because obviously they have a lot of food. They have more food than they need. They have the food that they want. They don't have just food to survive, right? So they would immediately, and you sissies that never have been through anything in life, never lived in bad neighborhoods, never lived in a house that had no electricity in January in Michigan. Anybody that, there was times me and my brother had to live off some old stovetop stuffing that we found in the cupboard for like 3 or 4 days. Living in a freezing house. If you've never been through anything, then you don't know anything about that. But growing up around these people, that's exactly the mentality they would have had. They would have looked at this fat lady and they'd have been like, she's getting it from somewhere. We don't have it. Let's get it. Because we're more of a wolf than that fat pig is. And they would have took her down. They would have ambushed her, whatever. So I can't get into it. But then you get into the scene where she's talking to like the captured people. And I look at that group of people and I'm like, this looks like an Antifa crowd. She's talking about, you guys have done, hold on, let me do it. You guys have done all this. You guys have. And they're just sitting there and I'm just like, these are the goons? These are the people that have been causing so much terror and trouble. Right. See, that's why you never see those Antifa dorks do that, pull all that crap in an area where they know people ain't playing. Where people are wearing red hats. So I just see this group of people that she's like browbeating. You know what I'm saying? She's like, she's giving the business to. And they're just sitting there. And then the guy speaks up. And he has like a lisp. He's like, we sorry. I don't have any information. And I'm like, this is what. So immediately they lost somebody like me, somebody that has testosterone, somebody that's actually been in fights and stuff before. Like, you know what I'm saying? AKA somebody that's actually been a normal human being and not these dork freaks of nature that just, want to be girls. So immediately, and what? That was like 8 minutes into the show. That was like 8 minutes in, and they already had lost me. And trust me, I'm going into these episodes trying to find something positive. Believe it or not, I'm trying to find something positive in it. Because it doesn't give you any credibility if before you even hear someone's review, you know that they're just going to trash something just based off their own personal beliefs, right? That's why a lot of these people like, Yellow Flash 2, The Quartering, RK Outpost, all these people, they're so predictable because they back themselves in a corner to where if it doesn't match their whole brand or whatever you want to call it, they're not going to give it any kind of props even when it warrants, a pat on the back. They're just not going to do it. So that's why them, just like other people on the other side of the fence, you just can't trust them. You can't trust somebody that's just, everything is cut and dry. Life isn't like that. All right. So, but so far with this, like I said, I'm trying to find something positive with it. It's so hard with this show. It's so hard. Pause. That's something to real pause with. So then after that, after we hear Miss Squeaky voice, Miss Squeaky Pig, we go into a good 10 minutes of just nothing. Now, I was trying to make some food. I just got home from work. So I'm playing this on my phone, and I don't hear anything except, like, footsteps. And I'm like, what is going on? So I look, and I see that, of course, they had to not only check one box, they had to check two boxes with these two characters in this scene. And I was just like, really? 10 minutes of just sign language and just... Like, you could have got the point across to what they were talking about very quickly, but they had to stretch that out to like an 8-10 minute scene, which is just ridiculous. And then this dude is like, they're hiding out in the attic. I'm not going to describe everything in detail. You know what I'm talking about because you've seen this. So they're like hiding out in this attic and they have like cardboard over the window so that nobody sees them. But they're just like broad daylight, pulling the cardboard all the way down, looking out the window. Like, what's the whole point then? What's the whole point? It's just stupid stuff like that in this show. That it's just, if you're like me and I don't know if I'm slightly autistic, schizophrenic, I'm sure I'm all that. But I pay attention to those small things. And stuff like that just bothers me. It's just like, if you ever watch reruns of Three's Company, and Larry just walks in Jack Tripper and the two girls' apartments, and he just leaves the door open. Like that, I could never enjoy a rerun of Three's Company because this dude would just walk in and never shut the door. And it's stuff like that that's prevalent in this, where you're just like, normal people don't do that. Normal people don't do things like that. Stop. It's everything. That's what separates good and great things from average and crappy things, is you pay attention to the details, because all that adds up. So then, you already know what happens. They hook up with Joel, and I'm gonna trash that Ellie's looks once again. I'm sorry, but I noticed on this episode how big her forehead is, and putting her hair in a ponytail. I don't care if that's how the character's hair in the game is. If you have a 5 head, if you're ahead of the class like she is, you don't put your hair in a ponytail. That is ridiculous. Her forehead, she could beat a Samoan in a headbutt contest, okay? It is frighteningly huge. Pause. So, anyways, we go on, blah, 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 more boring stuff. And I'm going to say, and another thing I'm going to say about these shows, they are boring. They are boring. If this show, listen to what I'm saying right now. You take this exact same show, exact actors, the writing, everything. You put it on TBS, TNT, whatever. By this point in the show's life, it would have been announced that this show is not going to be renewed for a second season. Any other place besides woke HBO, they're axing this show. All right? Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. Okay. So, we get to a point to where the fat squeaky pig moms group, they got Joel and all them cornered basically. And a hole opens up in the ground, a bunch of the clickers or whatever they're called start coming out of the ground. Number one, as far as that situation goes, they aren't fearsome. They're not a good villain. They're not a good... I don't know. I just don't think this translates well from the video game to live action. Zombies? Yeah. But even then, we've been oversaturated with zombie stuff. So I've seen a lot of lackluster zombie things or whatever. But even still, like, really, how much do you have to do to make a convincing zombie? With these, like, fungus people, I don't... It's not there. It's not there to where I'm like, I'm putting myself in that situation as you would do watching something post-apocalyptic or a zombie apocalypse or whatever. You put yourself in their situation and say, what would I do? What would I do? That's what a normal human being, what you do for 90% of the time that you're watching those things. That's what makes it so enthralling and so interesting, is that it's almost interactive in a way. But, so these fungus people come out the ground, underwhelmed, right? But then you see the soldiers are in almost a complete circle around the fungus people, and they're just unloading fully auto. Now, they're going to hit people on the other side. Because like I said, go back and watch it again. No, actually don't do that. But if you remember that scene, they're almost in a complete circle around them. And they're just unloading full auto. You would see friendly fire. You would see people getting dropped. Of course, you don't see that in this because, again, they don't pay attention to detail. They don't pay attention to realism. And I know what you're saying, it's based off a video game. There's fungus people, blah, blah, but you still have to have some kind of rules to the universe. You're still set on planet Earth. So... but the one thing I will say about this, and I'm going to say something positive about it, is the scene where the little boy asks Ellie when he's writing on his little Etch-a-Sketch thing, and he's like, when people turn into a monster, are they still the same person inside? And then she reads it and kind of like quizzically, like, huh? And then he shows her that he's been bitten. And then she cuts her hand and puts it at it. I thought that was a good scene. And then he says, will you stay up with me? And she's like, yeah. I thought you got to give credit where credit's due. That's probably the only good thing, except for the first maybe 15 minutes in the first episode. That's the only good thing I've seen since then. But then, the next morning, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy, I just feel like the guy shot the kid too early. I feel like if you're that close with somebody, or even, your pet, even if you've seen that your pet jumped out, is rabid, is jumping on somebody, if you're that close and has been your companion for a long time, it's going to take everything for you to shoot them. First, you're probably going to, like in a normal situation, that dude, he would have grabbed the kid. He would have tried to see what's going on. He would have, what I'm saying? We've seen more realistic, situations like this in zombie movies where somebody's relative is a zombie and they kind of chain him up and keep him because they just can't bring themselves to kill them, which is a realistic feeling or a realistic thing that most people would do in those situations. But he just shoots the kid way too fast. Like, they drag on scenes, just drag on boring scenes. But then the one scene that they need to take a little time with, they don't. And then he just kills himself. Like, all that happened way too quick. And then, end of the episode. So it's just, by now, even if they had, how many episodes? We're on episode 5. What do they got? 10 episodes probably? Even if they had 5 just bang up episodes, just dope episodes, you still can't give this any kind of positive, rating or whatever. Because you're like, 50% of it was absolute trash. So, The Last of Us episode 5, it's 0 to 10 dog bone rating. Zero. I didn't like. I found. Oh no. Okay, half a dog bone. Half a dog bone for the one scene where she cuts her hand, puts it on the kid's bite. Half a dog bone. You're lucky you got half. Okay. Appreciate what you do have, because one thing we don't have is a good show. This is your boy Winston Wolf.